We are here living the authentic life. It's our last podcast before summer. Summer's here. And we have Natalie Steen of the Nat Note. And I was explaining to her, she and I have never sat down and had a real conversation other than I met her briefly through Phoebe Tudor. I mean, every person who Phoebe Tudor introduces you to, you're like, we got to get together, because she only picks up cool people in her audience, I feel like. But and then I took a little bit of a dive into the Nat Note, and I was like, oh gosh, we got to get to know each other. So here you are. So I'm going to get to know her as you guys get to know her.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yes. So you're a Miami girl.
I'm a Miami girl.
In a Houston world.
In a Houston world.
Mom of three.
Mom of three. Mm-hmm.
Badass education.
Thank you.
Penn, UVA. I mean, girl, and now you're in fashion. Of course. You have to have all that education to be in fashion, right?
You don't. It's very expensive. I don't recommend it. You don't need that education for fashion whatsoever. But UVA got me here because that's where I met my husband, and he's from Texas. And that's actually how I met Phoebe, because my husband's cousin is married to Phoebe's niece. And what I learned about being in Texas, everyone is connected in some way.
Yes.
So you do need, at least for me, I needed my education to get me places.
Exactly.
Maybe not where my parents wanted me to go, but I needed that to get me to where I am now.
And I do feel like Miami and Houston, that's probably the city we spend the most time in, other than in Vail, Beaver Creek, in Houston. And we feel like that's the most similar types of people, beliefs, enjoyment in life, the way you look at family.
I think so. I think they're just two really strong cultures. And I've only lived in Miami and Houston, and then Virginia for college, and Philadelphia for law school. But the weather is similar. Out of all those four, I think Houston and Miami are the most similar, just based on weather and like a culture that really defines a city that you kind of feel wherever you go, that kind of permeates, all facets of it. And, one, for me, at least growing up in Miami, was predominantly Cuban, and I come from a Cuban family. Here, like Texas itself is a culture. And so I'm naturally drawn to like, okay, these are things that I can see and identify and feel, and not just the food, but like the people and how warm they are, and kind of what gets their, what tickles their pickle, so to speak. And so I like passion. That. I like
people
that.
Are passionate. And our guy friend we were talking about, shout out to Morgan, he's also Cuban. And we were talking about when we met our husbands that maybe they kind of were interested more in us than we were in them.
Well, I was just a Miami girl in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I didn't really know what to expect, and I had never had like a serious boyfriend in high school, and so I met my husband first semester freshman year. And so when I was 17. So when you meet someone when you're 17, you're like, you're just one of many, I guess, that I'm going to meet along the way. You don't think like, you're my future husband, because you'd be psycho to think that.
Yes.
And so, I mean, I was wrong. That was my future husband. I wish I could have had a clue from the universe then. But that's just how life is, I guess. You never know. As we were saying, you never know.
I think about that. Like, what if we didn't have to worry? And I guess that's what faith in God is. We're supposed to be able to not worry because we have faith. But I'm type A, control freak, want to know what my future is, want to do the right steps to get where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
But what if we knew what to not worry about?
I know.
And we would just go through life easier and kind of, I feel like when you get to your place that you know your purpose clearly and you know what you value the most, maybe you can let go a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's just stressful for like the big things. Like, who am I going to marry? When am I going to get pregnant? Like, what am I going to do for a job? Like, the big life decisions are what kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, and they make you, and then once you do
they
it,
make
you're
you
like,
short circuit, and then you're like, look back, like, it was there all along, maybe? Or like, I fell into the place I'm supposed to be, and timing is divine, and it happened the way it was supposed to, not the way I wanted to. My husband had to remind me that a lot when we were going through, like, building our family. Like, you are not in control of the ship. Like, you are not the captain. Like, as much as you want to be, like, how have you not learned? Like, you have this idea of, like, I need to have a baby by this age, and then I want to have my second one so that they're this far apart. And, like, it just didn't happen that way, because that's not the way it works. And by baby number 3, she was kind of a surprise. I was like, how is this happening? And he kind of looked at me like, are you serious? This is our 3rd time and you still haven't figured out that you are not in control of this. I was like, I guess you're right. Took me like all 3 times to learn that lesson.
So if that's, I guess that's the takeaway. If you could give anything to everyone, is when you finally give into it, the ride is so much more enjoyable.
Yeah, or just like hindsight bias, like gives you a lot of, peace of being like, oh, that is how it was supposed to happen. But in the moment, like I tell my friends going through just like, is this going to happen for me or not? I'm like, imagine 2 years from now, we're going to be remembering this conversation, because you have to like put yourself in the future, which is so hard.
It is. Well, my daughter, I didn't have her till I was 39. Mm-hmm. She's 17, so I'm old. But still living my best life. And actually, my happiest moments, my best life, I just went to the Rolling Stones concert, and it was one of the best concerts of my life. Fun. So life after 50 is still cool. But she went through a really, really, really hard health journey. And it took us almost 6 years to get her diagnosed. Actually, she was probably sick from the time she was a baby. Mm-hmm. So, but all that led her to today.
Yeah.
And she is incredible. And she would only be a portion of that incredible had she had not gone through that. Right. And if you just keep believing in the universe or in God or whatever it is that leads you,
absolutely.
It's not as...
It's just hard when you're in the moment.
It is.
Trust me.
So how did you get from UVA undergrad, Penn Law, to the Nat Note?
So I went to... Well, after UVA, I moved to Houston for 2 years. I did Teach for America here because I'm the oldest of 3 girls. My mom... This is all important because my mom is a federal judge, my dad's a lawyer, and they're both, like first generation... like Cuban American. So,
wow.
So the pressure was on, I'm like, Natalie, you need to, set an example. And, the only way to really rise up is to go be a lawyer and get your professional degree. And so when I came to graduate, it was time to graduate undergrad. Jamie, who was my husband now, boyfriend then, was moving to Houston. And I was like, well, I kind of want to go with him. And they're like, what? Like, your younger sisters follow a boy? That's not why we sent you to college. And so I had gone into law school. I applied senior year of college, but I didn't get into UT. And so I was like, oh, that was my plan. I was going to go to Texas. And so my mom was like, well, you're not going to Houston, like you're not going to Texas if you're not going to law school. You better find a plan B that is legit enough for your father and I to bless it. And so I applied to Teach for America, got into that, and I taught 3rd grade ESL here for 2 years, like straight out of college, which is I think the years like right after college are very hard. Just like especially when you are used to being in a bubble. We were in Charlottesville, like Virginia, just everything, Pleasantville, life was great. And then, like waking up at 5 a.m. and teaching in a trailer was not great. And so I was like, what have I done? What am I even doing? It was just a year of like, I don't know. And so then, but I left thinking like, okay, my parents were like, we'll let you do this if you sign a contract with one of these law schools you got into saying, I'll be back in 2 years. You could defer to do something like TFA. And I was like, sure. I mean, I don't care. Like 2 years from now, who knows what I'll be doing? Like maybe I'll be married. Maybe I'll again, my mind, it was a 20-year-old mind. And they're like, okay, well then sign with Penn. Like, that's where you'll go. I was like, sure.
It's just hilarious that Penn was the backup to UT.
Well, just the way it works, like.
But it is. It just works out that way in the whole school system.
Exactly. And so I was like, I've never been to Philly before in my life, but like, who even knows what will happen 2 years from now? This is literally just to shut you all up. I'll go to Penn. 2 years fly by here. And it's time to like pack up and move to Philly. I was like, no. But I went. I did it. It was great. I actually loved law school.
And you dated your husband
We dated
remotely.
Long distance. Yes, the whole time. And I would come to Houston to work as a summer associate at law firms during the summer.
And what year was this?
This was, I graduated law school in 2016. So like...
Pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID.
Okay, good.
Yes. And so I would work here over the summer. And I actually loved being in law school. I love being a law student because after 2 years of being a teacher, it just felt so indulgent. I was like, I was used to this lifestyle where like if I had to go to the bathroom, I had to worry about like these 38-year-olds and then to be able to be like, all I have to perform, my only deliverable in life right now is to attend class and like learn. Like, what? That's not a job. You go from being like smacked to like, this is the real world, to then being kind of pulled back. Like, this is all you have to do is learn.
Incredible.
And so I actually loved it until the point I graduated and started working. And then I was like, wait, this is actually nothing like law school. Being a lawyer is nothing like law school. I think of all the graduate school program, like options you can go to, the one that mirrors like what the work of someone with that degree is the least is the law. Because there's like, aside from learning how to write really well and to think, it doesn't mirror like, here's what your life will look like day in, day out.
Yes.
And so I got to the law firm here in Houston and started working and quickly realized like, this is kind of boring for me. And I don't know if I like it all that much, to be honest. But now I'm like, we've done 3 years of law school. And so I was sitting, downtown in front of a computer screen. And especially in the early days when you're like first getting into the groove, maybe you'll have like a few assignments, but they won't land on your desk till maybe 3 p.m. But you're an eager beaver and you're there at like 8:30 to show that you really care about your job. And so I'd be sitting in front of the computer from like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. with nothing to do. And so I'd just start shopping because I'd always shop. And in college, like no one wanted to sit, my friends didn't want to sit around me at UVA in any class because my laptop would be open and I'd have like 20 tabs open of just like shopping while taking notes. And they'd be like, I can't pay attention.
Oh my God, to know. We
like,
literally all day, every day.
Yeah.
And this is just what we love to do.
I would just like, minimize, take a note every now and then, like, but then keep scroll. And then like someone behind me would be like, what was that? What were you looking at? And so I did the same thing. And so I was like compiling, I was like, I can't buy all this because then, I'm finally working after 3 years of not, and it'd just be like in one door, out the other.
Right.
So someone needs to buy it. It can't be me. And so I would start emailing things to like my sisters, my mom, my best friends that I knew, like, oh, you have this wedding coming up. Look at this dress I found on sale. And so I remember the moment when I was like, I need to like kind of get it together and make this a thing. And I think it'd be fun for me because it'll distract me from the fact that once that assignment does come in, I'm like, I'd much rather be doing this than this. But having that be my, like
side
outlet. Yes, an outlet for me because
it wasn't even income at the time. It was just a passion project.
No, it was like, this is,
it's what you spent your time doing.
Yeah, because
to fill your cup.
Yeah, and then just the way those, when you're a young associate at a law firm, finally, like you get your assignment, you get in the groove, you go home, and then they'd be like, okay, like now we're waiting for comments on the other side. Can you like wait up for the email, turn them, and then send it back to everybody? And it'd be like, I'd get that at 11 p.m. I'm like, well, I can't work out. We were living in a high rise, like I don't really watch TV. I'll just wait for this email to come in. It might not come in until like 1, 2, 3. And can't fall asleep because if the email comes in, I'll miss it. And so then I'm shopping again. Because that was just like how I distract myself. And all this shopping led to the Nat Note. And so I started it then as just like here's some things I found. And that's still what it is now. It just thankfully kind of snowballed into the point where I was like, okay, this is now its own kind of living, breathing thing. And I could say goodbye, thank you to my legal career.
Okay, so there's a term called ikigai. Have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah. Ick. When a guy gives you the ick?
No, different.
Oh, I was like, I know what ick means.
I know what an ick is. And I never feel that for you, Rob.
Yeah. Never.
Ikigai is a Japanese term, and it's when you figure out what you love to do, what you spend all your time doing, what you can maybe make money doing, what makes the world a better place, which fashion, that's kind of a iffy, whatever. But it does. If it fills something that other people need, and it's something that you could do continually and you kind of lose track of time.
Okay, this is my ikigai.
It's your ikigai.
Yes.
And that's part of what my podcast is about. And when I wrote about living your authentic life, you find these things that you're so passionate that it doesn't feel like work. And it does. And it's most people that I've invited as a podcast guest have done what they've done as a side hustle or just a passion project, and it becomes what they love and what they're good at. And I think that is kind of the skip with young kids today, is they want to go immediately into that.
Yeah.
And you realize you had to do all that.
You got to put the grind in.
Malcolm Gladwell, 10,000 hours.
Yes.
Also doing what you don't love, that's just work.
Yes. To then appreciate what you do love. Because I think had I not, it's similar to like, I did not love being a teacher, you know?
Yes.
But when I
you
got
love learning, and so you thought you loved teaching, but that doesn't always correlate with
But
people.
then I got to law school and was like, I'm so appreciative of these time I get to be just like, frankly, selfish. It's like, I'm just learning, I'm making myself ready for something. Like it felt selfish, and that wouldn't, I think had I gone straight to law school from undergrad, I would have been like, what is there to be thankful for? Like, I'm just doing what my parents want me to do, versus like, I was like, this is so nice that I like, on Friday I can put classes, and I'm how old, like 20, whatever, 25 years old. I'm a 25-year-old that on a Friday can wake up whenever I want because I made it so I don't have classes on Friday. Like, what? And without that kind of appreciation for it, being like, well, just last year I was waking up at 5 a.m., driving all the way down to like Reliant Park to teach. Like, this feels nice. Like, I'm thankful for it.
I believe you can't see light without darkness.
Totally.
You can't really feel the sun light.
Because the same applies now. When people are like, how do you, like, every week, you don't even take a week off? Because I'm like, there are definitely moments, even though I love everything about what I do, where I'm like, oh my God, this week I did not, like, I didn't put my hours in, and it's going to be a long Sunday night. But in the back of my mind, like, would you rather be doing this, or would you rather be like, you know, drafting documents? Like, I'd rather be doing this. Right. For sure. And so you need that.
And also the exception is, like, I will make this comparison. I met a woman one time that was so passionate about her faith, and she knew scripture better than anyone. And I kept trying to help her find a way that she could put it all together and send it out. And some people can't figure out how to take what they love to do and be committed enough to put it into a format that goes out. Because that's not the fun. The fun part's looking it up.
Right.
The hard part, like, I've written 20 travel blogs and none of them are on my website yet. And I have to get past it to do the next step.
Yes.
And sometimes it's just hard.
Sometimes it's hard. And sometimes, like, you know, I feel like I got very lucky. Like, there is a way to monetize my hobby and what I spend my time doing. But a lot of people are like, you know, I love playing tennis, but like, I'm not going to become a professional tennis player. Yes. That's not going to save me from my corporate job, but that is my outlet, my hobby. And, you know, I got lucky in that sense. It's not universally applicable to everyone, but I did, and I still do, put in the grind for it, for sure.
Right, but you do like tennis because you came in such a cute little tennis outfit.
I do love tennis.
And you found a way that your job can allow you to do what you love.
Yes. But if you like, my husband had been, like, when I first left, and I kept on practicing for, like, you know, 5 more years.
Okay. Yeah. And people should understand that too. You don't get to just leave and do your passion project. You just don't get
to like, oh, this seems like, it was like, I had to see the numbers there to be like, okay, I have faith now, I can, like, jump out of the flying airplane, because that's really how it felt like.
It is. Yes.
So that was 2 years ago. But my husband today, he's like, she works harder now than she did over there.
More hours.
Because
it's nonstop.
Yeah. But then he kind of gets a little grumpy too, because I'm like, well, my work, he's like, you need to settle down. I'm like, well, that's me working. Is me going to that, you know, party and, you know, being with these people and networking. That's my networking. You go to the lunch meeting. I go to the fun dinner party and post about it. And he's like, okay, I'm like, it's work. Sorry.
Well, and
my work just looks fun. It's still tiring.
And there are a lot of days we'd rather be at home in our pajamas than dressed up at a party talking to someone and finding conversation. But at least 9 out of 10, we like being at the party.
Yeah.
And that's what fuels us.
Yeah, for sure.
So as a parent, are you going to do something different with your kids when it's time to go to college? I mean, I know they're young.
Yes.
But how do you
have I learned from my parents' own mistakes, but no, I feel like I'm the same version of my parent I'm a different version of my parents. Because I already tell them they're only 5, 3, and 1. But I'm like, the only school I'm paying for is UVA, and you're not allowed to go to law school. I will obviously bend on that. It's more of a joke I like say in front of my parents for them to be like, why would you say that? Don't say they can't go to law school, because they both still practice full time. But what I also learned from it is that my parents genuinely love what they do. And the best lawyers I worked with when I practiced were those that genuinely love what they do. They're not there because they're like in the back of their head, like, well, what else would I do? It's like, if I had all said and done, I prefer to be here doing this. And those are the best lawyers, and those are my parents, because, all day long, they just go back and forth about the law in some way. And I'm truly terrified of when they will retire, even though that means more time with me and my kids, because I don't know, what's going to fuel that for them, when they get so much satisfaction from their jobs. But that also was, a big learning lesson to me, was, I can't create this love for this profession. I can't fake it. I mean, I could fake it just long enough, but not forever.
Yeah. So my daughter's love in life from sports, everything in the world is math.
Math.
Is that crazy?
That's great for her.
And shopping online.
Okay.
Which is hilarious,
There's definitely an intersection of both.
And she loves giving back, because she's been through such a hard time. So it fills her cup to do charity stuff, even as a young kid. So her top school we went through and had this, she's had a hard time with friends because she is with her health issues. And I think it's just hard being a kid now with social media and everything. But her top school with our counselor was Penn. And we went there and she loved it. But then the way everything's worked out with campuses and COVID and the way we told her it's not something that we, with your health, with all these other factors, it's the place that you should go for your second degree. But your first degree, you need to be closer to home. Okay. But it was really interesting so when I saw Penn, and then UVA was on her list, but when we went there, she didn't fall in love. So it's interesting what I loved and what she loved. Yes. And I'm an Aggie, and I think her top choice right now is UT Honors Applied Math.
Okay. Well,
but I'm okay with it. Whereas my dad was like, if you're going to college, you're going to A&M. So I'm living this.
I say that more of like what I said as a joke.
Right,
but
I know.
What I tell people is look, a UVA education was amazing, but the best thing that college gave me were my husbands and my best friends.
Right.
My husband and my best friends. That is truly what I walked away from my undergrad with.
Totally
that I
agreed.
Wouldn't,
my best friends.
change for anything in the world. And I think it's only, again, hindsight bias that you look back and I kind of compare my notes to my sister's notes. And I just think UVA did an amazing job of bringing together a really great group of people. And I'm biased, obviously. But I think when you think about an undergrad, it's not don't focus so much on where is my degree going to be from? Is this a better school than this one? I think just it's hard to obviously figure that out when you're looking at them, but the college experience for people and how people, the community, because that's what you're going to spend 4 years from in a very formative years of your life. And I got lucky because I didn't even know what UVA was when I applied to it. Again, girl from Miami, but I was where I was supposed to be clearly. And the relationships I made there are the most important in my life. So that is the testament to UVA. I can't remember anything I learned. Sorry.
Okay, so that goes to the next thing that I did research about living your authentic life is blue zones where people live to be centenarians. These areas or communities around the world.
Because they're eating those blue tortillas.
that
icky guy, blue zones. I'm like,
yeah,
you say one thing, my mind goes to the other. I'm like,
and I and the food is a big part of it, but the part I grabbed on is 7 of the 9 characteristics are about community and how they connect with other people. Mm-hmm. And so it is powerful. And you mentioned that earlier, like we were talking about the community of Miami versus Houston. And I think too, I'm Sicilian, you're Cuban, the Latin.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of connection between that feeling familiar. So I do believe that community and how you feel and connect to the people in your world is what makes you happy and what gives you the most purpose.
Yes, because at the end of the day, like you just want your kids to be happy.
You do. My parents
that's it.
Used to say that to me, and I'm like, but there's so much more to life than being happy.
See, my parents would tell that to me. They told me that to my youngest sister, who, again, like going back, I mean, no digs against Yale, but she went to Yale undergrad, and it was hard because it was like right in the middle of COVID, which obviously impacted her whole experience.
Yes.
But I remember when she got in, I was the only one that was like, is that going to be a happy school to go to? It seems a little intense. And everyone was like, how dare you, Natalie? Like, why would you put that in her? She just got into such a good school. I'm like, all I'm saying is, like, Yale will be there for, like, graduate school if she wants to do that. But maybe these 4 years are not so much about going, like, the best school you got into and more so about, like, going somewhere where you're going to be happy and you're going to get to have a really fulfilling college experience. Not just, like, I learned so much at such a amazing institution. And so by the time she graduated and was, like, figuring out next step, I remember hearing my parents say, like, we just want Gabby to be happy. And I was like, Debbie,
what?
No. But I was like, what?
Happiness?
Nobody gave a what if Natalie was happy. They're like, you better find something really legit if you don't want it. You're going to let us bless you going to Texas and following your boyfriend. I'm like, there's no happiness considered there. Like,
oh my God, that is so true.
And I guess you learn. You live, you learn. My parents lived, they learned. They were like, Natalie was going to find her happiness one way or another.
So your sister loved Yale during COVID, or it was hard?
It's hard. I mean, it was hard. And they're like, it was kind of funny. We were comparing. She never got it. I think, which I was like, this is kind of messed up. But I was like, the fact you haven't gotten COVID in college is a red flag to me. You're not having enough fun. You know, I feel like the UVA
needed to be going out.
I'm like, I feel like the UVA kids like already have like immunity built up for this, like, and people don't even have like the vaccine hadn't even come out yet. But I'm like, I feel like UVA Charlottesville is like, we're good. Everyone's had it by now.
Miami,
like, she finally got it when she went on a spring break trip with a friend from another school. I'm like, you see, that's what I mean. Like, if you're in college, you should have had COVID already if you're doing things right. But they were very by the book and like followed all the rules, and they were strict. She had to like get tested every week. It was just like a very, I guess, Yale approach to it. And I guess to me kind of started this shift in like college campus vibes that now we're really seeing play out, which does really affect your experience as a student.
Well, and is UVA, it's not an Ivy, it's a Southern Ivy.
I guess that's what they call it. I mean, it does feel like you're in the
Forbes
South
just came out
still.
with a list. But in Virginia, that's what confuses me because it doesn't feel Southern.
You get like a little mix of both. And like, I don't know.
When you're there, you're like, it's so high to be Southern, but it feels...
Yeah, I'm like, well, there's snow on the ground. I'm the most Southern of all of you, and I'm not Southern at all. Like, but just geographically speaking, you know? But I had friends from like Baltimore, I had friends from Virginia, I had friends from Greenwich. So you do get like a mix of people, like husband from Texas. So it doesn't feel like, even though it is a state school, that it's just like everyone around you lives in this state. The out-of-towners certainly like find them each other.
Yes, which I feel like is true also, again, back to Miami and Houston, the diversity.
Yeah.
When you sit at a table or you're doing a business deal or you're in a restaurant, the amount of languages you hear spoken, the amount of people from different origins, and how people come together.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So your kids, how old are they now?
I have a 5-year-old, 5.5-year-old, an almost 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old.
Oh, and look at you! Look great. You're dressed. You have makeup on. Your hair's
I was
done.
shocked. I got here on time. Just did tennis camp drop off. I was like, then my son's in the back. He's like, Mom, why are you rushing? I'm like, I'm not rushing.
We're not rushed.
I'm being very safe. Very, very safe.
And summer plans? Are you traveling, or you guys stick
We're
around?
here we stick around for a bit. I've signed them up for everything under the sun that I'm able to.
Yes.
But then we started doing this last summer. I'll take them to Miami for like a month and stay at my parents' house.
Oh, good.
It's like when summer camps end here, and there's like a month of just heat, oppressive heat.
Yes.
With nothing really to do.
Yes.
That's when I take them to Miami, which is even hotter.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it's
a change of scenery
option.
No, change of
you're
scenery.
In the pool and you're at the beach.
Yeah, and I got my parents, so I kind of regress. I'm like, there they are. They're your grandkids you wanted. Don't you just want
three of them?
Don't you just want Natalie to be happy now? Like, can I sleep in? You know, we just kind of take over their house for the month before school starts, and it's fun. I mean, my best friends from high school most of them live at home, and so I regress. I'm like, I tell people, I'm like, it's like I'm back in high school, but I just have kids now.
Exactly.
I'm like, I should leave like this dinner or this party. Like, I have a really early wake up call, but we're doing the same things with our same people that we were with, which
they
is
just
good.
have. But I'm sure they have kids too.
Honestly.
Not as much.
No, Miami's kind of like New York in that way. When
it's later.
They were like, Natalie, why are you doing this so soon? Seems crazy. Whereas here, that was a nice part about raising a family here is I felt like all my contemporaries and I did it together. I
was definitely the old mom.
Well, that's all right.
It was okay. I don't regret it at all. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk fashion. We haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what key things are you kind of telling people for summer to add in? Because, are you working with people from, I would presume, from 60-something to 20-something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But is there a sweet spot? Is it more people your age? Because I feel like my age, I have so much. So I'm not needing to add as much in because I'm trying to just use what I have and move through. But as you're younger, you you have these events that you're building for.
Right.
Are people renting through the runway? Are they trading out? Are they building work? Let's just
I should know all this, but I just, given my time limitations and the fact that I I'm a one-woman show, I don't really have time to look back. I'm never really looking back and analyzing, which it's not smart as a business move.
No, that's okay.
I'm just kind of like, okay, that note's done, on to the next one. Okay. And each week I really just filter things based on do I love this for some reason? Would I wear it? Would I buy it? And so I think in any given, week, I'm sharing products that might be applicable to someone my age, like a young mom, doing different things, or, that I'm not, it's not in the back of my mind as I'm shopping, but when I see it all come together, I'm like, well, because I'll have brides to bees reach out, be like, I would love if you did a bridal edit. I'm like, there's white stuff on there. There's stuff that would work for brides on there. You just have to kind of look through. And then I have my mother-in-law being like, I don't have a waist, so you need to put stuff. I'm like, I put caftans on there. There are things on there. It's just not, which might not be smart on my end, tailor-made for.
Actually, I love that. Because people say to me, what are your competitors doing? And I said, I'm not paying attention to what they're doing because I don't want my choices to be based upon them. Mm-hmm. I feel like I want to go with my gut and my exposure, which is what we talked about earlier.
Yes.
I do read what Saks and Bergdorf's and Barney's, or I guess they're closed, but different big Net-a-Porter, whatever. Yes. What do they say the trends are? What are they? But then how does that work for a Texas girl? I can't wear a sweater. Exactly. I can wear a sweater if I go to Nantucket. Yes. I can wear a sweater in Colorado. But I don't need mini sweaters.
And I just come from
summer.
Again, Miami's people don't age there. And so you know, like our moms look better than we do.
Yeah.
And so my mom could rock anything I put on there and look way better than I do.
You're just not.
So when people are like, well, you're not really sharing stuff for, you know, the like 60 plus, I'm like, hell yeah, I am.
Yeah,
just
my mom would wear it.
Yeah. And so I think it just depends on like taste at the end of the day. Like this is what my taste is. I don't like gravitate towards a silhouette or like a cut or like I want to cover my arms, or sometimes I do. Like if it's beautiful, if the piece like speaks to me, then I'm going to share it, whether or not we all can wear it. Like, you know, I've had 3 kids. Like I was rocking a crop top for like good part of that, but I was still sharing them because if I saw an outfit that I thought I liked, I was like, someone can. It's not me. Like, it's not always for me or for you or for this person, but it is for someone. And I purposely do them on Mondays because as a former lawyer, like the Monday morning inbox, right, was just kind of really dreaded of like that morning, you're like, it's going to be a doozy.
Quite a week. Yes.
And so I did it for, you know, like the person like me sitting in like her Ann Taylor, being like, I just need a little pep in my step. That's not like a double shot of espresso.
I'm working to buy this one day. This is the goal.
Yeah, because then people will be like, I wish you'd share, or, you know, like, can you do like a work clothes item? Like there is stuff in there that you can wear into in a corporate world. It's really just the bottom line is like, I like it. And that is, I hope it doesn't come across as like, you know, self-important. It's more my way of saying like, I enjoy this for one reason or another, and so I want to share it with you in case you do too.
You're authentic.
I try to be.
You're so real.
I try to be.
Any parting words?
Just thank you. This has been so fun.
It's been so fun.
I'm sorry,
I've laughed so much. I think that's the point. If you didn't talk, it wouldn't be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a podcast, right?
That's right.
So that's the other, and I think it's fun. I did mention your pants. You said
they're La Double J. They're little can dancers.
So cute. I love everything about dancing, and I love the color, and I love vintage. So it's just all such a vibe. And then what about the vest?
Zara.
Girl, I'm
Zara,
so
always.
high-low. High-low. I am all about that. 100%. Well, we don't have much air conditioning here, so my skirt actually is like a tube top. So after I'm finished with this, and then I have kind of my Western look today.
Yeah.
I'm taking all this off, and then I'm going to be tube top with sandals.
Perfect.
So I can transition. Yeah. Because I think that's important too.
I'm going to go home and put on workout clothes and pick up my kids from camp. Transition.
Real life.
Yeah, very authentic.
Yes. Okay. Well, guys, what a great way to kick off summer. You got to check out the Nat Note. How can they find you? I
have a website, www.thenatnote.com, and right the first little bar that comes up, you can put your email in and subscribe. I think the email is the easiest.
I'm a subscriber.
Yeah, I think email is the easiest way to shop because there's so many products in that collage that even though I share them on Instagram, people are like, what?
Yeah.
I like can't see anything. So I'm like, get on the email or the website, and it's very easy to shop, I promise.
Okay, cool. All right, guys, have a great summer. Keep living authentically. Bye.